Hello, BookTube. I had a no cancellations appointment first thing this morning. But the good news is that it winded me up when it was finished, just a couple of blocks away from the Brattle Bookshop. So I went over. I went over to the Brattle Bookshop on a very clean, very clear morning. The last morning of cool or crisp air for the rest of the week. The week is just going to get progressively hotter. It's going to be warm by Wednesday and genuinely hot by Friday. That's kind of amazing for mid-April, but I will definitely take it. And I spent some time at the Brattle Bookshop, which, for those of you who are new to the channel, is a used bookstore in downtown Boston. They're terrific. They have everything you'd want in a used bookstore except for romance novels, and they have a sale lot outside that has $1, $3, and $5 books, thousands of them. So that's always the first place I go. It's often the only place I go where I can find just endless amounts of stuff. It changes all the time. And also, even if it doesn't change from one day to the next, you still can't take in thousands of books. You're still going to see things that you didn't see before. And I found a bunch of books. I found a bunch of books. Only one paperback. I'm now looking at this stack and realizing I only found one paperback. No wonder these things were such a burden to lug back here. But part of that will be continued in Bag Tuesday tomorrow. So for today, we can just look at the books. Like, for instance, this one, this is from, when? The 1920s? When were you made? The 1920s? Wow. All right. Well, early enough so that it doesn't tell me. But it's inscribed for to Olive with best wishes. Christmas of 1923, so it's at least that old. This is by A. St. John Adcock. It's Gods of Modern Grub Street, and it is a look at contemporary literary figures of the time period with tipped-in photographs. See, if you can, they're not fully tipped in, but they aren't part of the paper. They were added to the page. And you have those all throughout here for every one of these figures, only some of whom, there's Sheila K. Smith, only some of these figures have survived the century. It's been a century since this was given as a gift to somebody. And in the meantime, the names of, not the people are all dead, but the names, only a handful of them have survived. I mean, the table of contents here, we have Thomas Hardy kicks things off, and he, of course, has survived. Hilaire Belloc, Arnold Bennett, but John Davies Barrowford, Don Byrne, Walter de la Maris or Arthur Conan Doyle, sure, but John Drinkwater, Geoffrey Farnall. You've got John Galsworthy, sure, but you've also got Arthur Stewart Menteith Hutchison, and Sir Anthony Hope Hawkins, Sheila K. Smith. You've got Rudyard Kipling, but lots of others. Compton Mackenzie, John Masefield, but also Alfred Edward Woodley Mason. Somerset Maugham, but also E. Phillips Oppenheim's in here. Oh, good. Well, anyway, they're going to, in other words, they're going to be people that I've read a lot from in this book, and they're going to be people that I've read nothing from, and maybe I want to read some, and they'll all be on Project Gutenberg. I would assume at least some of them will be. I don't know how much of Adcock is on Project Gutenberg. I grabbed these things without thinking of Project Gutenberg. He was an absolutely indefatigable writer, a freelance, what I would call a freelance hack. He wrote all the time for anybody for £5. He would dash off a piece. I don't imagine that a lot of his collected, other than the lots and lots of collections that he did himself. There are a few of his books that I would really like to see, but I never do see them, even at the Brattle. So of course I grabbed this. Then we have the one and only paperback. I couldn't leave this behind. This is a collection of book reviews and critical essays and literary appreciations, that sort of thing that writers do. Adcock did them for his whole life. Most writers do them for their whole life, whether they admit it or not. But a lot of them, if they get to be very famous, they will retroactively say that it was all working towards one big organic goal. That is just bunkum. It's absolute bunkum. I don't know if this person ever did this. I don't think that this person lived long enough to have those kinds of airs. But I never thought I would see this. This is the University of Toronto Press. This is A.M. Klein, Literary Essays and Reviews. which I believe was published posthumously. This author was born in Ukraine and grew up in Canada, and was for a long time the editor behind a literary journal, actually just like Adcock. Adcock was the person behind the Bookman, the literary journal, the Bookman, forever and ever, long before he actually took credit for being that person. He was that person, writing tons and tons of unsigned copy, tons of signed copy, tons of copy under pseudonyms. It was an engine of productivity, and so was A.M. Klein. A.M. Klein was a Jew from Ukraine, and his parents went whole hog because I believe the A.M. stands for Abraham Moses. But he was attached to a Canadian literary journal for years and years and years, and wrote a ton of stuff. This is just literary essays. There are whole books, whole other things. It's a very, very punchy prose style that I saw this and realized, well, you have to have this for the bookcase of book reviews and book essays. But it made me hope that maybe there'll be other stuff by Klein. That maybe the person who got rid of this got rid of other things as well. And I wouldn't mind finding those at all. Same thing with Adcock. I'd love to find them both. This has a little bit of water damage, as you can see, but perfectly useful. This has a piece of his that book reviewing in 7 Easy Lessons from 1948, which I've read. I read that in an anthology elsewhere. And the title is deceptive. It's not book reviewing in 7 easy steps. It's book reviewers. It's certain categories of book reviewers, the strategies that they take to review books. As usual, when a book reviewer writes a piece like that, Klein is very mum on which one he is or was. But this is a genuine find. I was happy to find it. Then we have something that I haven't seen it since. Well, it's over a decade ago that this came out, and when it came out, I got it new from the publisher, which was St. Martin's Press, and I reviewed it. If I remember, I'll leave a link to the review down below. But if I ever say that and then forget, just keep in mind, if you're interested to know whether or not I wrote about a particular author or a particular book, just type in my name and then any information from the book. That will do as good a job as any to find out. I've written about a huge number of books, so. I've never written about Klein. I've never written about Adcock, but I reviewed this book. This is Chris Skidmore's biography of Edward VI, the lost king of England. I had this from St. Martin's. I got the advance copy sitting on this fainting couch. It was on the other side of the room. I got the finished copy, and I wrote about it at length for Open Letters Monthly, the precursor to Open Letters Review. I had a great time with that review. I'll have to hope that it's findable, that it's cleaned up, or maybe that I can clean it up. And this is, as soon as I saw this, the Brattle, I realized that I have a bunch of Edward VI biographies, including the standard 2-volume work. But I didn't have this somehow or other. Even though I lived with this for days, taking notes and trying out jokes. And, even though I lived with this thing for days, I realized as soon as I saw it that I didn't keep it. So now I have a copy that'll go on the royalty shelf. And the same thing with this next one. This is from Knopf, and I got this when it first came out. I don't remember whether or not I reviewed it. This is also a decade old, 2009. I got this when it first came out. I read it. I thought it was really good. I think I wrote about it. I don't remember for who. I don't remember who I sent that review to. But this is Miranda Carter's book. This is familiar on BookTube. This is Miranda Carter's book, George, Nicholas, and Wilhelm. 3 cousins who ruled countries on the eve of World War I. And what their relationships were. I had this. I got this as an advance copy from the publisher. Then I got the finished copy. Got rid of both of those. And then a couple of years after that, I found a paperback. I've only ever seen this thing in paperback, and I've got it a couple of times, and they break apart. They have the illustrations in a block right in the center of the spine, and the paperback, at least the U.S. paperback, just wasn't strong enough for that, so it fell apart on me. And I just sort of mentally told myself, wait and get the hardcover the next time you see a hardcover. and that was today. The nice thing with the deckled edges and everything. This is really, really good. It's definitely a keeper. I was happy to find it. Both of those. I was happy to find both of those. And then these last three, believe it or not, they are huge. They are set, and they are BookTube made me do it. they are a perfect example of BookTube having an effect on my book buying habits. Sean T. Stanfast is doing a read through of the Strangers and Brothers series by C.P. Snow, which is immense. The C.P. Snow worked on it for years and years and years. Story of one character as we follow him through every conceivable moment and bathroom visit of his life. I read these things once upon a time, a long time ago. They came out in really kind of nice mass market paperbacks, original cover artwork, and I was involved. I found them involving, definitely involving. The natural comparison here, the instinctive comparison, is to Dance to a Music of Time. Also a series of books in sequence. Also something that the author rather absurdly claimed was just one book. This was just one book along the lines of Remembrance of Things Past by Proust. And C.P. Snow, who in the introductory material to this set is punctiliously called Lord Snow, at a lifetime peerage. He claimed that for years and years, that this came to him all at once in one moment, that the whole sequence was fleshed out in his mind before he wrote pretty much more than one book, that it is supposed to be just one novel. I don't know what to make of claims like that. They are obviously false. I don't know what the point of them is. But I hadn't read Strangers and Brothers in quite some time. I found a trade paperback volume. You almost never see these things in individual books anymore. I have ebooks of them all, but you almost never see the individual books. It's a sequence of little novels. You almost always see them in block omnibuses, usually 3 books in one book or something like that. And I had one of those volumes. I think I held it on this channel, with a BBC production cover still on it, and I had the best of intentions toward that thing, but eventually I got rid of it because I thought, what are the chances that you're ever going to find any of the other books in this series? And do you want to have only one volume in the series? You should probably, I kept telling myself, you should probably wait. Those mass market paperbacks that you read originally will almost certainly turn up again at the Brattle someday. But I was there today, and I had, Sean just talked about these books just recently on his channel. He's ongoing. He's reading through Strangers and Brothers. So I guess I was primed on one level. I went to the Brattle this morning and I saw a 3-volume hardcover set, $1 a piece. I couldn't really turn that down, even though they're very heavy. So I got them all. I got here's volume 2. Oh, let's start with volume 1. In his introduction to this set, Lord Snow makes sure to point out that he's revised the books for this set, and that this is the order and the exact version of these books that he prefers, that he really wants people to read. I don't know how different they would be from the e-copies that I have, or from the mass market paperbacks that I read eons ago. But volume 1 has A Time of Hope, George Passant, The Conscience of the Rich, and The Light and the Dark. There's volume 1. You can see revised by the author. And there's a picture of the author on the back with what killed him. You definitely want to do that, right? If you're a publisher, you want to stress how cool the author was in life by having the author photo be the chalk outline in the alley. You want to make sure to include, of all the choices that you have, make sure that the photo includes what killed them. Then there's volume 2. This has The Masters, The New Men, Homecomings, and The Affair. See, that's what these big Scribner editions. And then volume 3, which has Corridors of Power, The Sleep of Reason, and Last Things. And those of you thinking, is this a derivative author? Maybe some of you have never heard of this series before would think this is a derivative author who's doing a Steve pet peeve. He's giving, as the title of one of his books, a commonly used cliche. But in this case, that's reversed. It's C.P. Snow that introduced the phrase, the corridors of power. It entered into the language from this book. And I remember I have not worked my way through this whole series. I have not done that since I did it the first time. I haven't done that, and I have been strongly tempted by Sean's read through. This is a major undertaking, and it's a little bit too cynical to say that although I maintain that Snow obviously did not. I'm sorry, Lord Snow obviously did not conceive of all of these things as one book. Obviously, this was sort of a Shaggy Dog type thing. Whether he says so or not, there's no way to know. So I have to go by my own common sense. There's no way that I'm going to believe that. But although the main character, Elliot, is no character, no fictional character, no real life character, no one would be worth 3,000-page volumes of biographical fiction. No one would be. You could do this for friggin' Hannibal, and you'd be well advised to stop at 3 volumes instead of going on to 50 or however long this is. So, of course, there's a lot of navel gazing, but it would be way too cynical to say that a project like this was not coming from somewhere, that it was not real, maybe in an important way. I'm a huge fan of Dance to the Music of Time, and I've always considered this to be sort of its younger brother, its weaker sibling. And I don't know if maybe that'll hold up. I have no idea if that will stay true over the course of a reread. But now that I have them, I'll put plastic covering. They're in pretty good shape. I'll put plastic coverings on these, and maybe I'll put something on the back other than that picture, and then just go through them all. They don't take long to do, and it's ridiculous for me to sit around waiting for mass market paperbacks that might never show up. Especially when this was, I got these 3 hardcovers for $3. So that is maybe a reading project for this year. Maybe if I devote a little time to it this weekend, I can catch up to where Sean is and then just watch his videos and let them prod me along. But that was it. That was the Brattle Book Haul. And it's not a whole lot of books, but it was pretty heavy. It was pretty heavy to carry back here. So we have the Strangers and Brothers series by C.P. Snow. All of them. The whole thing in a 3-volume set like that. We have George, Nicholas, and Wilhelm, 3 cousins on the eve of World War I. We have Edward VI by Chris Skidmore. We have Literary Essays and Reviews by Abraham Moses Klein. And finally, we have The Gods of Modern Grub Street. Sort of an allusion to George Gissing there. And to the location, to the actual location where we're writing for money, where hack work was done. So there you go. That is a Brattle Book Haul. Fairly heavy stuff. I'm kind of curious to know if maybe I'll get hooked if I start Strangers and Brothers. Will I get hooked and want to continue? I would never in a million years have thought. I didn't know that these omnibus editions existed. I was just sort of patiently waiting for a good paperback set. But I haven't seen that set in 50 years, so probably best that I stop waiting. Especially I want to give this another try, and maybe I do, thanks to BookTube peer pressure. But anyway, that's my Brattle trip for today. I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.